Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun.
Okay, we got them screwed in. We're all set to go. Let's go ahead and face these off and see what we come up with. All right, that's a good start. We're going to put one on just to try it out. After we answer that. All right, let's see what we got. First thing we want to do is find out if that key is big enough, because it might not be. I mean, we're not dealing with a key, we're dealing with a tractor bar. Not big enough. I can see it. Needs to come down a bit more. Okay, well, back to the drawing board. We go back to the press and take out another, a good 1/8 of an inch. So this key is going to be very long. I mean, it's certainly wide enough, no problem, just not deep enough. All right, well, back to the drawing. All right, well, here we go, and we've got a number of shims to put in before we're actually done here. And the reason why I didn't show you this before was because I'm dealing Well, you saw what happened. It went in just a little bit crooked and grabbed it and popped that bolt, that little bolt, and stripped that thread out. So we're kind of blown here. That's not coming out very easily either. There we go. All right, well, back to the drawing board. Now, one thing we can do is just go ahead and take that hole down further. Yeah, it's stripped out for sure. Just take that hole down further and get a longer bolt, and that should work out okay. But we're going to have to find another way to get this key in. And, you know, I could probably come in with a file and just file it out. I mean, we're not talking about anything that has to be accurate. So we'll see how that goes. We'll be right back. Okay, well, with any kind of machine work, you're trying to keep your eye on the ball as you're moving along. And, you know, I'm watching this and watching that and watching 3 or 4 things at one time, and I neglected to watch that I had bottomed out on my broach. The broach is only that deep. And so it was catching on the glide part of the broach, and it was cutting it, but after a while it just finally gave up and just, you know, stripped it out. So you know, couldn't keep my eye on everything. I got all the bolts to fit. It turned out that the 2 bolts that I put in there that stripped out were just barely holding. They went in about, oh, I don't know, 1/4 inch or so. And so I had probably 3/4 of an inch of threads in there, so I just got some longer bolts and we're good. Okay, we're going to take this apart. At some point, there we go. And this goes like this. Let's take it back onto the torch itself. And we want to flip this. And we're going to bring it right over here. Now we got one thing catching is, well, maybe not. Once we get it all the way down to where it wants to be, it's going to be just past it. I don't know if you can see it or not. No, you can't. The cable hits that adjusting knob for the oxy. Let's go ahead and tighten that up and just see how it's going to be. Geez, I'm thinking 1 bracket is plenty. And that thing sits pretty much where you want it to sit. We want to come up just a little bit. Just a little bit low. I'd say that's just about right. And I'm thinking one bracket is no problem. That's going to be beautiful. Well, okay, so we don't need the 2nd bracket. We'll use it on something else for some other situation. All right, next step in the process. Time to hook all the cable systems and everything to the plasma cutter itself and see if we've got something that's viable. Well, it took a while to figure it out, but it's a pretty simple setup. And we're going to bring you in close and show you how to disconnect this line and reconnect the new line. So we're trying to take this line out and just basically come into this side panel, and I just struggled with it and I finally took off this faceplate to figure it out. And basically all you do is unplug this line and then unplug this air line, and the whole thing just slips right out just like nobody's business. So that was easy. And then the new one is just right here. It doesn't exactly fit, but then I know the company, this guy pretty much made a custom one just for this unit, and so he probably just made it a little long, and it, you know, it's too long. But the fact is, and so all I gotta have to do is get that airline to kind of pop in there really good. There it is. And then plug this plug in. And that's it. We're hooked up. So it's easy to change from one unit to the other, and if you'll notice over here, there's, you know, this part of the plug doesn't go into the unit because these are all too long. But you know, the fact is that this unit isn't going to go anywhere. It isn't like we're going to throw it in a truck and drive it over someplace, and basically it's just going to sit right here, and then and we'll kind of pick it up, and then this line kind of goes up and up and up into the ceiling, and then back down into the pattern torch, which is where we wanted it to go in the first place. So I think we're pretty well set to go. We're gonna crank up the air compressor and see how this thing cuts. Well, okay, it's now 4 years later, well, almost 4 years later, and a bunch of changes have taken place, and the Hypertherm that I was using kind of went belly up on me here about 2 months ago, and it never quite worked anyhow. The torch head that I got didn't exactly fit it, and I mean, I literally messed with it for almost a whole month before I finally just gave up and sent that back in. Then I just used the torch, the hand torch, for what, the last 3 years or so, and it finally, you know, died on me here, as I said, a couple months back. So I got a new Everlast, and so far, well, I bought an Everlast TIG welder here about 6 months ago, and I really liked it. I mean, it had all the fancy bells and whistles and all of the cool stuff that makes TIG welding fairly easy. So I thought, well, you know, it's such a good welder, why don't I get a plasma torch in the Everlast brand. And so I bought the Everlast plasma torch, and then I bought a CNC torch to go with it, and set up this little block. And you know, it's now 4 years later, the poor block has gotten all corroded, but it still functions. And and I did a couple of test cuts, and man, it just worked great. So we're gonna do a test cut here, and you're gonna see it work. And it turns out that the CNC head is set up for CNC, which means that the on-off switch comes from the computer. But I went into the instruction manual, or whatever it's called, owner's manual, and they said that in the plug for the CNC head, which is right back there, if you just shorted out 2 of the pins, it would turn the machine on. So I, mess with that a little bit, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So I came in and put a more permanent toggle switch in here to turn the torch on. So we're going to turn that on. Well, not the cutter yet, but the machine. Oh yeah, we got to plug it in. And we got it up to 60 amps. And we're cutting a piece of 1/2-inch steel. So let's come down to our work. Bring it in a little bit. And we are pretty much ready to go, I think. And we got 76 pounds. And we're ready to rip. Not quite set right, but it's still a good cut. Come on. Not too bad, huh? Let me cool it off and chip off that dross. Turn off the cutter. Yeah, it's warm but not hot. With just a little bit more screwing around, we could probably come up with almost 0 dross. But as it is, pretty clean cut. I'm pretty happy with that. And it's pretty much a straight up and down. Here's where I kind of slowed it down a little bit in the last part of this cut. Oh no, it's right here. Yeah, see here it was going a little bit too fast, so it was kind of starting to arc over, and then I came over here and here's where I slowed it down, but it looks a bit rough. Somewhere in between here and here would be optimal. But we've got the shape, and what did it take? 30 seconds? Maybe a minute? So that's the end result of this video. We are all set up to go. Now all we need is a job to come in, and you know what they say, build it and they will come. Well, okay, build it and they will come eventually. Anyhow, this is Nick Collier checking out.